Mic lock. Mic trigger. Button. Mic trigger. Button. Mic lock. Finish recording. Mic lock. Button. Is on. Double tap to lock.
Hello friends. Hello guys and girls. I'm actually sat out in the car tonight. So before I get to you guys' questions, I'm just going to say now, boys and girls, I have a little bit of news to start off with. I'm going to be talking about this in the vlogcast. Me and Andy were going to sit down and probably talk about it, but Tom McInhill for ages, he's going to leave the company, which means that we're going to rename the company in a few months. But we're going to rename the channel. We're doing a lot of work to the channel. We decided to call the channel a different name to what our company is, because our companies might change all the time, and to keep the channel the same name as the company is just, it's just not, you know, it's still gonna have stuff around work. It's, you know, we're keeping the playlists, the Mind Mob playlist still there, the Ball McInhill Productions playlist is still there. So I think if we just do playlists on, you know, what the companies are and stuff, and have stuff over, because I think, you know, the companies are changing, the office is changing, and so Tom McInhill has had to leave due to medical. You know, he's been our accounts director for 3 years. Well, there was a year where he wasn't, but we don't count that year. We just say he was there for 3 years, and he's been at this. As you know, he's been there longer than 3 years, but for the last 3 years, or the last year that he's been active with us, the company's had a change of pace. So we're getting an account director, but we know they're going to be thrown in the deep end, because there's a lot of freelancers now, the way this company works. I've got people freelancing for the building company because they're doing a lot of remote working, but they're coming from Mannerings in Bootle, not Mannerings from Southport, which is a building agency, but that's on its knees. I don't want to talk about that at the moment. I'll do that in another video. And the phone company, which I can't sell. Should have never bought a phone company, but who knows? I mean, the future of my company's, you know, the advertisement company, which is brilliant, because we're looking into probably doing billboard advertising of next year. We're doing digital advertising, doing things in a very, very different way, because we're using social media to tell the story of the projects as well as the end results. Our website actually gives more, but anyway, there's more of this talk of this in the later result of the podcast. But anyway, Tom McInhill is basically, he's going. It's not like last time where he's like walking out the door and you know, arguments. It's not done like that. This is done in. It's still upsetting to see him go, but he's still hand holding us. You know, he's there on the end of the phone. He still wants to work with the company. Why he's getting his redundancy package. But yeah, once he's gone, he's gone. But he's still, you know, we're more friends with him than like business partners. Which it wasn't going to work out like that anyway, because just kind of nothing to do with history, but just to do with I don't know. It just the working relationship, just it's on and off. you know, it just seemed distant. But it's the way I am and not the way he is. I mean, and he doesn't really like the fact of coming into an office and all the rest of it. But that's the thing, you know, you've got to go with you know, you've got to go with stuff. And I want to talk about my weight issue as well, because a lot of people keep asking about. I did a rant on Facebook about Easter eggs. I don't want to talk about that in this, but technically, the be-all and end-all is, you know, people keep ranting at me at my weight, and to be honest, yeah, I'm doing something about it, guys. I really am. You know, yesterday was a poo day, but can we just put, like, poo days down? You know, yeah, it shouldn't have happened, but, you know, I mean, Sunday had a little bit of a binge. You know, Monday was a bit of a, you know, Monday's Monday. But, you know, it's like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing now. I didn't know what I was doing before, but I know what I'm going to, you know, I know what I'm going to do from now. I don't know what sense that actually makes, but
Mic trigger. Mic lock. Finish recording.
So
Mic trigger.
I today went and bought myself a
Mic trigger. Mic lock. Finish recording. Mic lock. Button is on. Double tap.
2 terabyte external hard drive, which was long needed, and especially with what's happening now. So I have decided that the big drive, the terabyte drive, which was the old warehouse drive, that's gonna have word processing documents, because they don't take a lot of space, applications, and library files, system files, contacts, all that really good stuff. And then the little hard drive, which I think is about 200 gig. It was in my old Macintosh. It was actually saved from my old Macintosh. And I had that because I just wanted to back stuff off it. So literally that hard drive, when I have backed everything onto this new hard drive, the new 2 terabyte hard drive, which, by the way, it's looking pretty sexy on the desk. But it's small as well, and it's more portable, which means it can stay on the desk. Which means I can have 2 hard drives out, because the third hard drive, I'd say you only need to back up weekly or monthly, you know, stuff like that. You know, really important stuff that you need to back up every once in a while. And I think I have a hard drive which is corrupted, which I need to work on, that's in the basement somewhere too. But that's only a 600 gigabyte hard drive. But hey, 2 terabytes, it's a lot. And the thing is, I need to put all the music that I need and want on there too. But the 200 gigabyte drive, That's the projects drive. So I'm either recording stuff on there, or I'm working on other stuff. So that's, the project drive. It's 200 gig, so there's not a lot of memory to play with, to keep stuff. So photo and video will have to go on the 2 terabyte hard drive with all the music. I'm putting like some photos and videos that I really care about and really want to keep. Whereas the 200 gig stuff, it just gets kept there for a limited, because it's on file anyways. You keep stuff on file for a limited period, like all the paperwork. Paperwork gets kept on. You put stuff on file for a limited period, and then all the filings get sorted. And anyway, I don't know if I've got into that crap, but anyway, I just thought that I would discuss it. But anyway, so you're here for the Q&A. You're not really here for, and all of the Creative Thoughts podcasts I'm doing at the moment are Q&As. Oh no, this is a Q&A, it's not Creative Thoughts. Crap. Anyway, let's get into it. So, Don Isker asks, are you, would you say that advertising on social media is lazy? Yes and no. Right, this is a kind of a political answer. Yes, if you get Facebook to do it. We don't use Google Ads. But we're going to start using Google Ads for a very, very small portion, because Google Ads are now starting to, I think there's a big thing with Google Ads. Like there is a huge thing, but it all depends. And the thing is, you want to be able to control your own audience. Like Facebook doesn't control anyway, but it's like TikTok, for example, Instagram. All of our reels that we're doing or working on, we haven't actually done a reel yet. But the stuff that we're putting on the reels and stuff is like all the promotional stuff and what the company's doing, but trying to advertise that out there. All the big stuff, like the case studies, we can use as adverts. We can tell that story over and over and over again in different styles. And that's how advertising is starting to work. The new style of advertising is getting a testimony. And a testimony changes every time you tell it, because there's always different scenarios that's happened. It's like the closing point, but then there's stuff after. The stuff that comes, what's happening now? Where are these people now? How have they gone from a small, how have they gone from a little company to a massive chain? How have they gone from a little, how have they gone from their bedroom to masses of units and stuff like that? And it's really, really interesting, because you wonder how these people get there. Because they've come from somewhere, and people don't like to admit it, but that's the thing. And you see, I mean, the thing is, like, the office for me now has become a machine. It's not a place where I can get work done anymore. It's a place where work comes from. And it's like, that's why taxi companies, don't need offices. Taxi companies don't need offices because the drivers have realized it. In fact, there's a lot of drivers that I remember that the drivers from the older companies used to say, my car's my office. There's no such thing as a taxi office. You used to get people, it's that 21st century speak which exists because, especially now where you have applications, why do you need an office so much? And with my company, what's happening now is the work comes from, the emails. People send the emails, you do the emails, and so on and so forth. And then the projects come to you because you've got the customer, and everything that's happening, you're putting out. I mean, we're starting to do event planning now as well, and that becomes more kind of agency work. And we're going to be working with a big agency in a couple of months with a project that is pretty big, and we're only doing a little portion of it. But, it shows my next question from Louis Spears. What do you think to the Bootle news strand? Do you think that they're throwing their budget away on advertising? Well, the problem with the Bootle news strand is they love drama. And so they use politics as a great tool for their drama. As it comes, I don't like reading about their budgets. I mean, they get... the strand is struggling. So there has to be organisations in there that keeps everything going, to keep people going in. Because it's people like the Kingsley & Co. and the bookshop. They're the only people, and they've got communities behind them. I mean, there's also the Space Centre, which is in Marsh Lane. The problem is, you have to know about these communities. People diss the Strand because they go there and it's like, oh, but then they don't bump into the people. Judging books by their covers comes to mind. And I am keeping up with the Strand because they've got a great office space in there, and there is great office space in Bootle itself. This is the thing, like, there is crap everywhere, and Bootle isn't a great area to live in, but to work in, it's a different kettle. It's like Southport isn't a great area to work in because, well, it's a tourist area, and you don't really want to work in a tourist area, but also it's old people town. It's also a place where hospitality thrives. But I'm not saying that you can't make it. And this is where community marketing is key. Like, community marketing is new. I'm not saying it's new, but it's new. It's new because it's been there for a long time, but people have just about used it. It's like anything in the digital world, like touchscreen, AI, all this stuff that has been come before, and now people are just using it. It's new. It's the same with community marketing. It's been there for a long time, But because people realize that with communities, because people need communities, they need an audience for their company. They need customers to go in and buy their product, or they need someone to whatever. That's where a community comes in. But you have to build a community. A community doesn't just come to your feet, you know?
Mic trigger. Mic lock. Finish recording. Mic lock. Mic lock. Button is on. Double tap to lock mic off. Finish recording. Mic lock. Button is on. Double.
So, Ginny asks about the there was one before where I was talking about but it's gone. Anyway, Ginny says, can you talk about Magic Silver Room, and do you think it will be making its comeback? Well, yeah, Magic Silver Room will make a comeback at some point. At the moment, there's a bit of politics going on with the person that had Silver Room. But that's all I can say on it, because there's a bit of a financial issue with it. So, anyway, how do you have two businesses and pay off both of them? That's from Pete Wild. Well, the thing is, I've had, like, the building company I've had for a long time, so I know how to manage it. You know, whereas this company I didn't. But it's like having two companies in the same office. And like these days it's doable, especially if you have digital companies. I mean, there are people out there that have multiple digital companies, and you can break it up. And I think these days empires are kind of what builds your niche and stuff like that, and it's finding, you know, what's right for you and all that sort of thing. But in the building company, I do two things. I'm a project manager, and I also, I'm a CEO of the building company, and I do work on projects there also. You know, get my hands dirty where I'm needed. But it's there's a lot of work that's happening because we're doing we're building shops. I mean, there's the new business park which we're working on, and it's looking good. And Ball and Mackinell Productions is going to be advertising it. So it's something which we've dreamt of for a long time. But the building company are more kind of in on that. But I think the building company will make me more money than my advertisement company has done, but at least I'm creating jobs for people who, need it and such. Because but I mean, the advertisement company is what I love. But there's always the shutting down the advertisement company, just have an extra office for the building company, and we've talked and talked and talked about it because I'm hoping that we can get Adam Winters to run what was the advertisement company. It's something that we're thinking years ahead and expanding the building company, but it's not been spoken about. I mean, having 2 offices is greedy enough, but having 2 companies, it's, it's tried and failed. And we've had a great time with it, but I think all the skills you take from one company, you take back to the next. So it's all the office skills, all the communication skills, and then there's all the problems that you bring with it. It's not that I haven't loved and some great projects, and maybe I'll show and tell and talk about it in Lucy Quinn says, asks, do you think an agency model is bad? It depends. I mean, an agency model is where you pick up jobs and like I said in the previous question, it's like a taxi company. That's the way people see agency models. But gotta be careful with that, because the bigger agencies now are working on they're looking for they're looking for how to scale more. It's building and scaling and growing and cutting back on the whole building and scaling and growing. Anyway, right, I'm going to choose the big questions because I want to bring this to a close. Dan McGray says, how do you see companies as models and models as companies? Wow, that is a big question. And we got this question a few weeks ago, but didn't know how to answer it. And realizing that the business models, like business is a moving thing. I did a short NLP episode for midweek just to keep people happy, just to shut people up. And in that, I talked about think a business as a family unit. You know, all the projects you do keep your family living and breathing. You know, because your business has to grow and it has to move. My first business I had was a newspaper. And back then, newspapers were, you know, things that you went and printed. But our newspaper was a small newspaper, and we had quite a few people we brought over from the national services. So these people, this was a small paper reporting on things that were going on. We had, back then you could get, like, newspapers, you could get information from anywhere. You could phone police departments if these people were linked with certain cases. You could get, and you had record books, and there were records on individuals because computers were hard to come by and the internet was very expensive. So you had printed versions of databases. You had databases, but you had printed versions, and in actual fact, they were much more better back in the day because there wasn't this, like now, people scroll and scroll and scroll to get the research. And there's this whole kind of scrolling, you kind of go away from the research. And the whole thing is like, even when you get the key thing, you have to scroll till you get the key thing. You know? And we now know, right, we've got a playlist there for the advertising. When we want to know something, we go to that playlist, and everything's there in that playlist for YouTube. Because if anything else, anyway, so I went to my building company. I moved from my newspaper company, my building company. Oh, I had a garage, but I don't want to tell that story. So anyway, I moved forward to my building company. My building company never travelled, but we wanted to travel. We weren't, this whole thing like working remotely, having an office where you worked, was kind of, you know, it was on the cards. But now, working remotely is key. Because it's not where the office is, it's where the people are. And having the people that you work with, you know, you could use your community as your business model if you are good at it. It's going out there. It's like a fisherman. You think of this, right? A fisherman goes up there to get his fish, right? And then he brings his fish back. Now, he could do one or two things. The fisherman could do one or two things. They can sell their fish to other markets, or they can sell it to people within their own village, their own tight-knit community, they could sell it to the fishermen. Now, there's a lot of fishermen that be probably thinking, well, why sell it to the fishermen when they can fish? They might say, hey man, I'll pay you 200 quid or whatever, depending on the fish. They might give them 12 quid, and hey, they pay the money. The guy's in pocket, the guy's made a profit from his fish. The other guy's bought the fish. Probably he's had a naff day fishing, and he comes back and he sees he sees a fisherman moored up with his boat. And hey, he's selling fish to the guy who's needs the food on his table. The other guy needs money in his pocket. It's all about feeding your community. And the same goes for anybody. People, there's a lot of people out there who want to go out and they want to make money fast. And so instead of looking at who they've got, they go out there and look at who they haven't got. And that's where the problem lies. Because if you look who you haven't got, then it becomes difficult. You have, if you have a friend who and they've got a small group of friends. Well, it starts off small, but then it builds, gets big. I mean, you look at these small cafes. You see these small cafes, they get really busy and they expand. Next minute, they've got another cafe down the road. Do you know how cafes actually expand? I'll tell you how they expand, right? They were small, and the thing with cafes, forget hospitality, right? Forget hospitality for a second and think what they do. There's a cafe, for example, or even just think of the one cafe, the small cafe, right? The one with, the one with the best cake and coffee in town. But they do other things too. They have all the great stories written about them. And how does it work? Well, they get a few friends in. They say, hey, I've got a cafe. Come in for some coffee and cake and a natter. And they care about you as well. It's not just like any old cafe that you see. There's a lot of you that you put into it. Also, there's a lot of people who, when they go to a cafe, they I mean, cafes are like pubs now. I'd say cafes are the new pubs, because with a cafe, people go there and they know they can sit and drink. Now, the difference between a cafe and a pub is the atmosphere is more chilled. That's why people go for a coffee shop. You know, the people going there will be not just mingling with their mates, but they'll be sitting and studying, or they'll be working, or they'll just be commuting, or they'll go there to meet someone new. But there's a lot of these pop-up cafes, places you didn't even know that were cafes, and they have other bits of service, you know, because people find it difficult to talk, you know. It's strange, the culture we have, and there's been great stories about these places. I know people first do one, but you could do your own. You might be doing a cafe, and hey, there's a counselling session going on in there. You know, people go in and the problems are shared. They walk out. Wow. I mean, people used to go to the hairdressers for this sort of thing. But you see, this is the thing. If it's done in a social manner and it's done in a comfortable manner, you're bettering other people's lives and mental health and all the rest of it. You know? So that's a lot to take into mind. But as a model, it's very difficult to, you know, these are things that it's like when you take a when you take a plant or whatever, and you the sap from the plant, so to speak. Anyway, I'm not really too much into that, but I think, this is something that we need to talk about. Oh yeah, so I was talking about community marketing. I want to go back on that, right? I've had to record this in separate parts because I've been out and anyway, which is why I want to cut down it because I've got work I want to do. So communities are the thing with a community is you get people that you know, that you're friends, and it's like there's that sort of spirit, A lot of these places, like I don't know, it's a lot of these places like Costa or Starbucks, unless you're buying from them, they sort of look down your nose. Now, I understand everyone needs to make money, but there needs to be that caring part to them, Now, it's like these mom and pop companies. Everybody doesn't like them, and they're put off because when they go in, there's too much love and care that goes in. But in actual fact, that's needed in a lot of companies. Because you never know, that person will go in and they'll buy something. So it's those people that you need to look after. I mean, I've heard about people who have gone to these family companies and, next minute, I mean, we've helped a few people out. Because we feel like, if you think, oh well, this has happened or that's happened, or blah blah blah. You kind of, and then I don't know, you just give them a mention of something on your Facebook or something, and it just, I don't know, I think the thing is, the more friends of companies that we have, or the amount of friends that we have that are in companies and own companies, that becomes, I mean, it's not good to be friends with people who own companies on social media, because that becomes a very different kettle. But if you're friends with somebody who is in a company and you buy from them, or you say hello when you walk past, it's usually, it's good for them. I think it makes their day a little better, and probably makes your day a bit better, And sometimes, like for example, if I know there's one of my friends who has a shop, well, she's just somebody who I talk to in her shop, and if she's got stuff outside her shop, she'll run outside and just say, there's stuff outside my shop, and um, or so sometimes it just depends. But yeah. Now, like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up. Now, it probably might be a midweek video. I don't normally do midweek videos, but I've got to put all this together, so when this goes out, and there's a lot for people to take in, so maybe I've put a communal post saying, if you've got any questions or queries or worries, comment on the post, because I will note them down and I will put them in the next vid. I don't normally script things, but the channel's going down a little bit of a serious route at the moment. But anyway, right, I'm out.
Mic trigger. Mic lock. Finish recording.